Hey guys, how are you doing? Hope you're doing well. So I'm here. I'm just going to do another reading from the discourse, and I was channeling this, and I was like, it really got me into contemplating, and I thought it would be really good to share this part of it. This part of it is just talking about difference in opinion from what you are to what source is, right? So the two different perspectives that's going on. Um, so it says, thereby the difference in opinion rather than knowing, right? So because our we have an opinion of what we're seeing, experiencing, hearing, feeling, we really don't know. It's source that knows, right? So source is the knowing, meaning you are of different consciousness, right? So we're of the human consciousness, we're sources of source consciousness, which is a higher consciousness. This is awareness, right? We have different levels of awareness, and so um, it's a difference between them, which is like an opinion, really, right? The human opinion versus source's knowledge. Then that of source, which is not lower. So it's not that we're lower, it's we're from a different perspective, which is different frequency than what that which is, right? So we're in a different frequency, different frame of mind, different reference, different appearance, because we only see of certain things. We don't see of the whole picture. We only see part of it, where we are, our experience, who we are, where we're coming from, where we've been, where we're going, and we're just kind of seen from a different perspective than source, right? Doesn't mean it's right, wrong, lesser, lower, higher, or anything. It's just different perspective because we are source, right? It's just from a different perspective, which is a different frame of mind and a consciousness. Thereby I am it in him to being that which is source in living, right? So we are source in living human form consciousness, because all forms are of source, which is the creation, which is life, but not the life I am leading, so, which is the human, meaning I am in him to being when I am, and not when I am not, which is when I am living, right? So the living and the being, which is source, which is just being, and we are living, but we are living within him because we're of his creation or its creation or source creation. It's not really him, it's in him to line with, which is the radiance, because it's an intelligence. There's no form or him or her or masculine color, form, whatever to source. It just is, right? So then when I am living, meaning to be of the human form, so that's our own consciousness. Thereby it is that which is both unto itself and being, which is well equipped, meaning you don't need anything, for you have everything that you need for your journey, meaning you have everything that you need. You don't really need anything, but of course we use the outside world that we're creating and using as tools to bring us into that space, the alignment and awareness of our, through our experience, to be right in the space of knowledge and awareness, right? That helps us, but we really don't need anything other than what's here, because we have everything within. We have all the knowledge. We have the knowledge from the very beginning of time up to now. And then we have the knowledge of source, which is everything. It's all right here. We just need to access it, right? We don't, the outside world makes it easier for us to see where we are in our journey and what we're being and how we are, where we've come from up to this point. But everything is already here, everything's recorded, right? It's like we're a recording of time to itself and being. So everything is here. So we're fully equipped, right? Thereby it is to just be, and you are that which is me, not itself separate. So we're not really separate. We are it. We are source. Thereby to be that which isn't, is that which is living itself. Like life just lives itself. We don't have to do anything for life to live. Like we don't tell our heart to pump. We don't tell our, we're not conscious, of when we're doing things. Like we just automatically do it. Like it's a memory, it's a form, it's something that's been created that we're just utilizing still. Like when we walk, we don't say, okay, put your foot forward, put your other foot forward. We just do it, right? It's just being in that space, right? It just lives itself. So we're not really doing it. We're aware of that we're doing it, but we are not ourselves doing it. It's something there that's already doing it for us. It's an intelligence, a consciousness. Thereby to know itself, not source, which is in relation, not the related. So again, the relation is source, the related is others, what's outside of us, right? Thereby it is in reference to itself, that which I am seeing that I am of, is the being of it, which is the form it takes up, meaning to be what I see, not as I am. So reference is to where I am in my own space, my own awareness to what it is. I'm in reference to. So it's where I am with that, right? Not as I am, which is source, right? Source in capitalization, I am. Thereby I am that which is being already, for I am being what I see. So what am I seeing, right? I'm seeing myself be in the experience of what's going on in my world, because we all have a different world. Like everybody has their own individual world that's of their own creation. It encompasses a lot of things like their beliefs, their past, their wounds, their ambitions, their desires. It's Everybody has their own world that they're creating, right? So we're in reference to who we are. So it is in reference to itself, where we are, that which I am seeing, that I am, human form Laura, is of the being of it, which is the form that it takes up, meaning to be what I see, not as I am. So I'm being who I am as Laura, not who I am as in source, right? Because I'm the source being of Laura. Thereby I am that which is being already, for I am being what I see, which is from a different perspective. So I'm seeing from my perspective, not always from source. When I'm out of alignment, I'm seeing from Laura perspective, anything that's been up to this point. Because that's what I've gathered over my lifetimes, through generations, through coming into the form of my parents, what they've been through, which is a lineage. Um, and so that's the different perspective from source. So I'm not always seeing the truth. I'm seeing what I'm seeing through my lenses, my eyes, not source, right? So there's different perspectives. For all that is by source is good, meaning you are I am in progress of itself, not separate from itself. So even though we're in the form of being, which is what we feel separate, because we have the identity, the ego, ourselves, our false awareness, or and our truth, which is also false if it's not in alignment with source. We think that we're separate, but we're not. We're actually one. It's just having that separate being that comes into like form, right? It's being a form, right? Source sees everything as good. We always don't see everything as good, because when we suffer, we don't see it as good. But in hindsight, we wouldn't be where we are now today, in the moment that we are where we are, if we haven't had that happen. So in the time that it's happened, it's not always seen as good. It's like bad or judgment, and we go through all these different things like, it's them, it's not us, it's I didn't create this, I didn't ask for this, but really we did. And that's hard for a lot of people to digest, that we are part of the creation of our experience, right? We agreed to that and we created it, and whether we realize it or not, it's something that's going on behind the scenes of what we've had in the experience in the past that we've taken on to come into this life, right? When we agreed to come into this life, we agreed to take on everything of the past, whether you realize it or remember it or not, right? From lifetimes ago, we've agreed to it by coming back into this body, this form, because it's all here, right? When we come, if you think about it, when we come into being into the body, what are we taking up? We're taking up our family, our generations, our history, and then everything that we've been in our own past lives that's maybe not of our generation, of our family, is still with us, right? We still have that. We still bring that in. And that's why a lot of times we have karma over lifetimes and we don't remember it. And when it comes up, we've forgotten about our past lives or our karma. And so it's like, oh my God, I didn't create this, but actually we did, right? When we come into this physical form, we've agreed to all that just by agreeing to come in. We're taking it up. It's ours, right? So it's not outside of us, it's what exists within us, right? And then there's also what exists within us, that's source, right? Thereby I am that which is being already, for I am being what I see, which is from a different perspective. For all that is source is good, meaning you are, I am in progress of itself, not separate from. So source sees that everything is good because you're in progress, and source knows you're in progress, so there's no judgment of source, right? You can't judge something that's in progress of itself, if you get what I'm saying. Like, you don't judge a child because it can't walk yet or it falls down. You can't judge something that doesn't know any better because it's just where it is in its space of awareness. So source doesn't judge us, we judge ourselves. And basically this is what this part is about. It says it's about judging ourselves. Thereby you are that which is in the being of it, not separate from it in the doing of it, meaning you don't have to do anything to be of me, which is capitalized, which is means source, unto itself just be. So we don't have to really do anything, we can just be, right? But we feel like that we have to do things and realize to realize it, but we don't. We can just be it to realize it. Thereby, which is experience. Thereby you are already there, meaning where you are in, which is in the stages of being, which is unto itself not one with, which is separate opinion, not separate being, right? So it's the it's the it's not really being, we're, even though we're being separate, it's not really being separate, and it's hard to really explain that so much as understanding it. You have to have that understanding in order to know what that's talking about, because you're in your stages, right? Because where I am now I wasn't before, and where I am before I'm not now, and where I'm going to be now I'm not going to be later, right? So it's in the stages that you are in, and it's acceptance and awareness, which is love, right? Of understanding that you are in progress of itself. So there should be no judgment of yourself because source doesn't judge us, right? Thereby you are it that which is in being, not separate for its being, which is one with, or one with me, which is source. Thereby I am it, which is being itself unto in harmony or not, which is the radiance of itself in being, that is or is not of itself, meaning you are of me, which is source, or you are of you, which is of the two, which is the beings that are being at the same time, right? Because we're both being both, right? And so it's whatever that we're being in that moment that we're being to ourselves. Are we in judgment, right? That's us. It's not source. Are we in love and alignment, acceptance of us ourselves in a good way? And this came to me when I was writing this, and it was really interesting. It's because like when this came in, I was actually seeing it as like when they talk about your emotions, when you're having emotions and you're feeling stressed or anything else other than love, that's an indicator you're out of alignment, right? Same thing, right? When you're seeing something, it's not only just our emotions, but it's like when we're seeing things, right? Because we see, feel, think, and believe, which creates our reality. So even in our seeing or what we think about ourselves, we're able to tell the difference whether we're in alignment with love, right? What are we thinking, you know? And that space of judgment should tell us that we're not in the space of love, which is source. We're with ourselves, if that makes sense. So thereby is that which is being in unto itself in harmony or not, which is the radiance of its being that is or is not of itself, meaning you are of me or you are of you, which is the two beings at the same time, right? And so the awareness that came in was basically, even in our awareness of just being, we should get used to that. Okay, what am I thinking? Is my thinking in alignment with source? Am I judging myself? Because we need to understand that, you know, our judgments are from source. You know, the only thing source is love. Anything other than love is us. So understanding that wherever we are, when we see where we are in our, where we are at the time in this form, this Laura, whether I'm seeing, feeling, hearing, sensing, knowing, whatever it is, if it's not love, it's not, right? That's us, where we are. And just getting to recognize that and be able to tune into that is just part of it. It's like almost from there, you're able to make change. So when change comes, it's when you have the ability to have awareness that you're not in alignment with source. Because when we can become aware of something, that's where we can change it. That's where the change link comes in, where we change our lives. It's just being aware of where we are. That's the important thing. Because if we don't have awareness, we can't change it. If we have awareness, then we can, right? Because people or myself. I've just been, in my own space. I can be in my own space, and it's not always, where I am in alignment with source. We all are at that point, right? Because we're in the human form. Um, but when we're in that space of awareness and able to be conscious that we're outside of the space of love, then okay, now I can change this because I know it and I understand it and I'm aware of it, right? That's the change link. That's the opening for opportunities, for potential to change your life, is the space of awareness, right? So, and then it says, at the same time, I am, and that of I am is that which is being to itself, which is to that which is being together as one to make up the path, which is to itself and being that which is or isn't. So, the path is both you and source, right? And it's between you and source. It has nothing to do with anybody else because you're of your own creator and you are of the creation, which is source, but you're of the same path. It's just which path are you taking? Are you taking your own path separate from source, or are you taking source path, right? So knowing which path that you're going on, which is going to lead you to where you are, which is the experience, right? In being. So you have the experience, and then you're able to see, okay, I'm not of love on this direction. So I'm going to go and pivot. And I like that from friends, pivot. Yeah, I love that. So I think of that sometimes. It's like, okay, pivot. You pivot, right? So you go into, okay, where's my alignment? Find my alignment. Okay, let's bring this back home to self because this is where it all comes from. Um, and there it, to that which is being itself on either streams of consciousness, which is to see its reference in its place of being, which is the difference. So difference and difference. So you're not different than source, you are in difference, which is reference to itself between that which is being, which is from that which is source, and that which is not. Thereby is by that which is in reference to itself, and that which isn't, which is by source, meaning you have a say in your own being, which is of your own creation, and you are more than likely and allowed to do and be whoever you want and to experience whatever you want. However, it's our own creation. Like, we shouldn't blame or judge anybody else for what we're creating because we've created it. Maybe we've forgotten, because even the littlest thing that we create, whether we are just in a temporary void of judgments of somebody else or ourselves, we're actually planting that seed. And that seed grows in time because from that point, you have created that seed of that space, whether it's judgment, anger, hate, anything other than love. When we do that and we act on it, we respond to it, it's actually making it bigger. That's the growing of the seed. Because then once we've set that in motion, that's a set point. From there, it keeps happening, right? It'll come back up again. It'll come back up again. And then over time, it just kind of blows up, right? It's like, say you're in a relationship with somebody and you guys get mad at each other and you never resolve it. Well, when you have another argument, you bring up the same stuff, or you have another argument that's very similar. It's like the repeatance and occurrence of itself over and over again until it's dealt with. So, same scenario on that. Thereby, it is that which is being in reference to, that is of itself, or that which isn't, which is by source, meaning you have a say in your own being, which is your opinion, which is to be what you be too. So if whatever it is that you're judging or being to experiencing is what you're going to be to, it's your experience. Thereby your own creation to what you deem to be good or not is that which is acceptance or condemnation. So whatever is your experience, whether you're deeming to be good or bad, is by yourself. It's nobody else, right? And it's through acceptance or condemnation. Thereby you are it, that which is good, and that which is not is by which is being. So you have the ability to be both, right? And of course, everything perception of source is good for the good. Even in your suffering, it's for good. That's how source sees it. We don't always see it that way. We see it as bad, but in hindsight, we can see it as good because we've been through it. We've passed through that, or we've healed it, we transformed it. And it's like, okay, I accept that because I am now where I am, that I had to go through in order to be here. So now I understand it from a different perspective. That's growth, right? It's evolution. It's the expansion of consciousness through your experience, right? Um, which actually we don't have to do if we just align with source all the time, because that our expansion is already there, right? It's the downloading of information from source. But a lot of times when we're choosing to go the path of our own, we're choosing the experience over aligning with source, which is the knowledge, right? So we have it all within us both. And thereby it is that which is present in itself and being, which is or is not from you where you are, which is good in of itself being, not that which isn't, which is the stream of consciousness that you are seeing it from, which is what you are living. For all things are good unto itself, even its own suffering. Meaning you are unto itself in life, which is life that is deems good or bad unto itself, is that which it is being in him too, which is not separate. We're not separate. We're one with. It's just our experience. Source doesn't experience what we are. So it's like a separation of itself, because source can't be in that space. You can't be in judgment and love at the same time. It's separate, right? It's separate. It's not that you are separate. It's we're seeing ourselves separate of when we're in that space. When we're in our human form, we're separate. We don't have the consciousness of source, so we're not seeing from, and so we're not in that space, right? So it's not really I'm separate from source. I am source, but I'm just seeing it. It's a consciousness that's separate that we're seeing from, and it creates our illusion. And so for the experience to happen, and then it says thereby to live what it deems good or bad unto itself is that which it is being unto him, which is experience, not that which is separate, because we're not separate. For it is that which is unto him, which is in alignment, that is being, meaning to that which you are thinking. So whatever you're thinking is what you're being, what you're creating is of thoughts, right? Sphere of thought, which is consciousness, right? So there's the being that is without thought, and then the being that is with thought, which is thinking itself, which is the creation of it, right? And then you have your own awareness from that place. There is to be that which is to have tendency to be what you want to be, even if it isn't, meaning you have no cause to think it isn't good, only bad, for there's no bad unto itself, only to that which you think it is, which is the cause of its own suffering. Thereby to always stay positive, even in the worst of times, because even in your suffering, it has purpose, which is to fill the long line of being that which has been before itself now, meaning that which has been and is arising, meaning to be of the dead. And so you're a rising of the dead, which has been of the past. So you're rising of the dead, which has been past, that's put to rest. So you're rising it again. If it hasn't been healed or transformed, you're arising what's been put to rest. So, I mean, you've put it down, not that it's been resolved or healed, because if it's been resolved or healed or transformed, you won't be able to bring it back up, right? It's the pivoting of it into a different awareness consciousness of time where you are now, that you're being in the present and the future, which is the creation of it. It's like the circular happening, the cycles, right? The karmic cycles, things like that, right? Meaning to be of the dead, which is to that which has been but is no more. So it's no longer existing unto itself. Like it's not here. Like what I was, for example, if I was mad at something yesterday, today I'm not mad unless something triggers it and brings it up. That's the rising of the dead, right? So if you're in an argument and then you guys are fine, and then somebody says something and it brings it back up and you get mad again, right? So that's the rising of the dead. Thereby the rising of the dead is unto itself, and being that which you are now, that has been of the body, meaning to be of the body before itself in time, which is before itself to him to separate, which is not to know of itself at the time. So anything that is of the past is here in the body, and so it's we can be triggered at any time, because like I said, everything that's here written, recorded, is of time that has been from the beginning of time of our existence as our soul particle. like in my past lives, my family's past, past, the generations, everything that is to this point in this being of Laura. Um, and so it's still here, right? It's just not being in the present moment. So it's at rest, right? It doesn't mean it's gone, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It's just at rest. But when it's triggered, it comes back from the dead, right? Thereby is not one with source, for there is no time before source, only that which you are, that have acted out of character in to be of itself true to itself, which is actually false. So when you're in the space of arising the dead, which is the triggering of the karmic ties, our experience, our past, we start to believe that we are, and we become it again, right? We become it, we act out of it, and it's like resurrection, right? So we resurrect the past of our being. So that's the character we start playing again, right? We get into that role, and then we believe it's true because we're in that experience, right? We think it's true, but it's not. It's just the past coming back. And when we have karmic ties that resurface coming back from the dead, the cool thing is we have an opportunity to see it from a new perspective, where we are now from where we were then. So that way we can transfer it. We can sit and just observe them and just be with it. It's like, okay, where is this coming from? Like, just be the observer of it. And when you can do that, that's chain link. That's the opening for transformation, right? Because your cycles will come back up over and over and over again until you're ready to transform it. So life has a way of creating this form, this karmic form that evolves around itself to come back around at different times intervals of your life. And no matter whether it's the same life or a different life or many lives after, even if we forget, right? That's why it's always good to resolve your issues in the present moment. So there's no lingering of the karmic ties for future, so that you don't have any surprises. Um, so always resolve your issues as they are in the moment, right? So when that comes back up, we may not remember, right? And so there's a surprise, and then we may feel like it's somebody else, not us, who's creating it, right? Um, and so when it's us, when we're in that the thoughts, we feel like that we are separate from source because we're obviously not in love, right? We're not in the space of love. We're in the space of the character, the experience, the re-experiencing of it. And so, like I was saying, the cool thing is, like, when that happens, we get to observe it. And when the universe or source brings it back up, it's saying that we are in a different place. We have more awareness than where we were before, and we have the ability and the tools that we need to change it in the moment if we utilize and we tap into it and we become aware of the space. So we have the ability, we have all the tools here that we can transform it, because when it comes back around, it becomes back around at a time that you have the ability to do that. It's your choosing to do it. So you can again choose to ignore it, or to respond in the same way, or to change it. So those are your options, right? We can always put it on somebody else. We can ignore it. We can say, this isn't mine, whatever it is. But whenever our times come back around, it's because we are in a space of awareness that's new. So we've evolved through time. So that's saying, source is saying, okay, you're ready to resolve this. So it's coming back around, but it's how we respond to it that will either recreate it or transform it, right? So the change link, if that makes sense. Thereby to know the difference in its being is that which is one with, or that which isn't. Thereby you are that which is good, not bad, in its frame of reference to that which you're being, which is that which you are seeing from, that of source or not, is seeing to be of it, which is the ways. So the ways that you're being, right? Either source or yourself, to be of yourself or source, which is in him to time, which is being to itself in relate or relation. Again, related is what you're experiencing here, relation is source. So you get the choosing of either. Is to that which it be is many, or of yourself or of source, which is two being in you. So the one being that which is good, not bad, in of itself being which is two unto itself, which is form. So you have both in here, which is in the form. Thereby is good or bad unto itself, and being that which is source for all things are good by its standards, maybe not by yours, to that which you call truth, which is false. So you're in the false being when you ever deem or judge something, right, of yourself or somebody else, because you're just projecting onto others whatever you're judging, which is within yourself that you don't even want to see about yourself. So we judge others for their existence or what we're seeing in them, right? Instead of paying attention to the good in them, we're judging the bad in them that we're seeing, right? So it's coming from our own eyes onto them, which is a projection, right? Which we've been before, but we're not seeing our own self, which is, I guess, I don't know, what was that saying? Like the don't poke yourself in the own, don't throw stones or whatever. I don't know what those sayings are, but something along those lines, you know. You pull something out of their eye, or you don't even pull it out of your own eye, or something like that. Similar situation. I don't know, because like I said, I didn't really follow. I've only heard a few sayings or clips from, the religious context in the Bibles and from movies and things like that. But I never really fully studied all of it. So I only have little bits and pieces, frame of reference to it. But that's the same scenario, right? Judging others before we judge ourselves. It's the projection. Is via him or not, which is a difference in opinion, meaning to see of itself or not, is that which is being in suffering, meaning to see suffering is to be of itself, not one which is source. For all that is bad is unto itself in judgment, not one with source, which is a related, not relation. All right. And then the relation is good, not bad, which is the distance in being that which you are unto it, which is the being of it, which is unto itself in being, meaning you are related or you're unrelated to that which is being done, that you have left behind, which is the arising of itself from the dead. So you haven't dealt with it, you've left it behind, but it's not complete, it's not full, it's not done, it's not over. It's just resting, right? It's like stirring up the mud from the water after it's settled, and then somebody goes in and walks into the clear water and stirs up the mud, right? So whatever's left behind, which is the arising of itself from the dead, to be of it, which is that which it sees now, which you can determine either it's going to be good or bad. So you get to re-look at it from a different perspective, which you are now, not then, because it was then that created, but you are now of a new time and era of awareness and consciousness that you can see it from a different perspective if you choose to. But if you don't, you don't, and then you create it again. It's a cycle. Right? And then it is that which has been deemed, meaning to redeem itself in beings. You can redeem yourself. That which is one or not, which is to see by that which is being it again, meaning it is coming back around to see it in a different perspective than what it is actually seeing before, that which is reoccurrence of itself in being, which is by time, meaning the occurrence has a timeline in of itself, being that which is an intelligent system. So like I was saying, the universe has a way of knowing when you're in a different space of awareness and consciousness to bring it back up, which will bring in somebody or something that will trigger it so you can see it from that perspective. But if we're not aware, if we're not in space awareness, we're going to miss it, right? And so that deems it again to reoccur at another time. So it's either negating it, ignoring it, the experience that's coming up and being like, you know. So we really want to take a look at these things, because whatever's been planted is the seeds of the experience that has happened in the past that's going to come back up over. And that's what they're calling about, like karmic creation and recreation and redemption of itself, right? So you're redeeming of yourself. Nobody redeems you, only you, right? You only save yourself. Nobody saves yourself. Jesus isn't going to save you. Christ isn't going to save you, whatever you want to call it. Religions lie, right? So you'll be waiting forever in your karmic cycles if you aren't aware of it and take, control of your life. Basically, you have to be in charge of your life. You're a god of your life, right? God entrusted you to be of a true life, which is within him, which is not H-I-M, but in him, which is in resonance, H-Y-M-N, of source, right? So you have that resonance of being, which is truth. So you were entrusted to have the ability to do that. But when you want to believe in other people and what they teach you and tell you, about somebody saving you, you're negating your own power. You're not allowing yourself to be in that power, which is full to truth, which is source. You're allowing yourself to be a victim, right? And so society, through these religions and belief systems, have kept you being in your true power. They keep you as a victim because they don't teach the true stuff. They manipulate it. The Bible, yes, it has been manipulated over time. So I'm sorry if that hurt your feelings because you believe in it. It's been taught to you, and it's not even that you know it, it's just been taught to you. It's been passed down, integrated, and ingrained into you, which is a control, right? It's a belief system. So it's been manipulated over time. They've taken bits and pieces out of it. It's not even a whole work of art, which is the true writings. It's bits and pieces of it to fit into their religion. There's so many religions, and they all take bits and pieces of it and they make it what they want to make it, and then they put it out like a business to believe for people to come and share in their suffering and your victimhood and you're bad and you're evil and your sin and you're this small, you know and that's not true, right? Take back your power. um Thereby it is by that which is to be an end to suffering, not its death, for there is no death, only an end to its being, to that which you think of, that isn't, meaning to change its mind, meaning to see of it from a different perspective, that which is true, not that which is false. But that which you wait is going to be of the past. So you're going to continue to experience it, right? Or to wait for it to come back around. Thereby later in life, seeing it by that which is now will still be playing out, which is still alive within you. It hasn't been transformed, which is that which is still existing unto itself, unto it exists no more. So whenever you transform it, you're actually changing the energy of it. So whatever you have deemed to be good or bad about a situation, if it's not in alignment with the love that's its source, then whatever that is, it wants to be transformed so it is a match to source, so that you're in alignment with source, right? Otherwise you can't be in alignment with source, which is to be back home with source, right? Not ourselves separate. So it's to bring ourselves back home to source, which is the ley line, so which is going out forward from us. So where we are in time is almost like being the seeds, our planet is like we're waiting for that to grow, to form, to come up and be able to see that where we are. That's how we know where we are in the timeline from what we're seeing. So even though it's not present, it's still there, it's still alive, it's resting, right? It's growing. It's kind of like the seeds underneath the dirt waiting to sprout when somebody comes in, pokes at it, or uh, sprinkles something on it and triggers us to bring it back and sprouts it, the seed. So it still exists. And when we're able to change it, it's like, okay, so whatever situation that's not in alignment with love, we want to change it so it is in alignment with love, right? And that's whether it's through forgiveness or acceptance or seeing through the delusion or the illusion of what we've created through our belief systems of what it is, forgiving somebody else, forgiving ourselves, just transforming the energy to love from whatever it is that isn't, whether it's hate, anger, upset, frustration, whatever it is, transforming it, right? Thereby to be persistent, to be a reminder of itself in its being, to that which you have deemed wrong, meaning to not see by source eyes only that which you are, which is to judge. Thereby it is by that which is of choosing to see it differently from a different perspective other than which you are seeing it, which is at a later time. For time heals all wounds unto itself in evolution, but is in favor of now, meaning you can change your life now by seeing what it is. And a lot of people may understand that you go through a life review when you go back home, and you can do that now in your current life, is to go through a life review. And I've done that in my own life, and it's transformed my life tremendously. Like, I've done journaling, writing, I've written letters, to people that I have felt that I said something wrong to, or I hurt, even if I didn't give it to them, I wrote it and I got it out and I transformed it and I apologized and I accepted myself for being in that space, and that's part of the healing. So, I've done so many different healing modalities for myself and worked on myself, to transform all these, so I don't have to keep dealing with this stuff, right? It's like, okay, I'm done with this, right? And that was like 10 years of my life doing this, and I just started doing these automatically. It was like almost like it was like an internal thing that was going on, right, to self heal. I was like 10 years in the self healing space. So I was writing letters, I was meditating, healthy eating. I still do those things, but that's basically, part of it. Like, we want to do our own life review in our life so we can have our lives in the space of bliss, not suffering. We don't want to suffer our lives away and then go and die and then have a life review and then come back and then redo it. You can do it now, right? And that's why it's saying, time heals all wounds, which is the intelligence of the universe bringing the cycles back around when you are at a different level, even if it's in a different lifetime. But if you've forgotten about it, you may be triggered and you may not even remember, in a different lifetime. So you're going to re-experience it because of the trigger, come back, and how you respond to it. So now in the present moment, whatever comes up, you want to deal with, right? Whatever's being triggered, that's not of love. So we do the life review now so we can enjoy our lives, not come back and have to go through it over and over and over again, because we don't know when it's going to come back up. It may be 10 lives from now that you're actually in the awareness that you can have the ability to transform it, right? So again, when it comes back around, time heals all wounds, right? That's of an evolution. But are you going to remember what happened in the past? What if it's 5 years or 5 lives before, or it's actually from your parents, right? So whatever has happened in this lifetime, we want to face it and deal with it, transform it, so we don't have to deal with it in the future. We're free of it, right? And we can experience something else and enjoy this life. We don't have to live in suffering, right? That's a delusion, to think that we're sinners and we're evil. There's self work that needs to be done, right? And that's how we transform it. So yes, time does heal all wounds, and we can just wait for it to come up. But I would rather be proactive in my life. You can wait. Nothing wrong with that, but I like being proactive. So anytime anything arises within myself, I look at it, right? And that was through source teachings, right? Through my 10 years of awakening, from the death experience going home, I came back and I started working on myself, right? And so those 10 years have taught me that, and it's changed my life a lot. So yeah, you can wait if you want and let evolution take its toll, and or you can, do your life review now instead of waiting, and take action, be proactive, and be in charge of your life instead of a victim. Because when we're not in proactive mode on our lives, we're a victim, right? So if we're not being a god to ourselves, we're being uh, like the pauper, right? So if we're not being a god to ourselves, we're not in control of our lives, we're running on the background. What's been, which is past, is like this um, intelligence that's been. We're not presently living in our true selves, right? Which is our current wisdom. We're living in the past. So that's actually what's playing the role for our lives. So we're not really in control of our lives, but we think we are, but we're just experiencing, recreating the karmic ties of the past up till now. We just keep doing that over and over again until we do take on our own power and be in the present moment and be a god to ourselves, right? Which is love, basically, right? And so when we love ourselves, we heal ourselves, we transform ourselves so we can be in that space, right? So we can feel good, so we can be there. And then we can, from that point, we can actually manifest other things in our lives. We're not, because when we have this old patterns going on, we're not going to be able to transform anything. It's like you have this wall or this block, Because if you got something else going on, you can't create something new. You have to be done with the old to create something new. It's an evolution, right? So we have to understand that as far as our evolution goes, right? So time heals all wounds unto itself in evolution, but is in favor of now, meaning you can change your life now by seeing what it is. And it's just taking a look at what's going on in my life. Where am I? What am I doing? Who am I? What am I experiencing? Am I in a space of suffering or love? Thereby, why wait? For it is unto you who is the choosing, which you have been given free will and entrusted in your own life to be true and honest, right? With yourself, right? You've been entrusted by Source to be the power of your own life, which is God. You are your own God, not a victim, right? And you're not lower than to see by itself or that of Source, because Source has trusted in you to be who you are, which is your truth, right? And so we don't want, not that we're going to disappoint Source, but we've been entrusted to do what we are doing with our lives. So we want to be a God to ourselves, right? Which is true. And that's what I like about this discourse, because it doesn't put you down, and these writings are there to lift you up, to bring you to your true awareness, to who you are, and to give the power back to you. That's why I like these writings. And it's not like the Bible, who's always wanting to put you down so they can be in control of you and run the world. The religions try to run the world, right? They try to get you on board. So you're giving them money. So you're becoming lower than them, that you need somebody to be an intermediate between you and Source, which you are, your Source. So why do you need somebody to be there for you? Just talk to Source yourself, right? You are the person that was the creation. You're here for a reason. And why would Source put somebody else in between you and it? Which is just ignorance to think of it that way. You know what I mean? To think that's how it is. It's not. You've been given the power, right, to do with your life as you are and as you choose, free will, right? And if it was a bad thing to give you free will, it wouldn't have been done, because Source is good. Right? Everything is for good. Right? So there, why wait? For it is unto you who is of choosing to see by itself for that of Source, which is not to be late to change. So it's not too late to change your mind, for it never is. You can change your mind at any time. So it's just whenever you choose to do it. So you can, whenever, a lot of people want to wait until their suffering is so great that they decide to get motivated, instead of waiting till your suffering gets that bad, which is the karmic ties that keeps coming up over and over again, life after life. Instead of experiencing joy in your life, right, and being healthy and well and happy and joyous and abundant, like why wait, right? Why not take action? We don't have to wait for time, which is the natural order of things. We can take things in our own hands, our own matter, to change our lives. We don't have to wait or be, of what other people teach us or tell us. That's just following a herd. It's not being even in control of your own life, right? You're a follower, you're not a leader. And we are meant to be a lead of our own lives, which is true. Thereby why wait? For it is unto you who, choosing to see by itself or that of Source, which is not too late to change your mind, for it never is. You can always change your mind whenever you choose to. You've been given free will. Thereby forgiveness is always done, meaning Source always forgives you for whatever you choose, regardless of what you choose. It's what you choose, though, that's going to be, right? If you're choosing to not do anything, then of course, you may have that life, and Source is okay. That's your choosing. It's been given to you, right? You've been entrusted with your own life. So forgiveness is always done by Source, right? Is by you that it isn't. We're the only ones that don't forgive ourselves, and we don't forgive others, right? Source always forgives because it knows we're in the evolution, in the process of being, right? So why judge something that is in the process, right? So it goes back around to the beginning of this. Thereby to suffer your own life away when you could be living in Him to heaven, which is bliss, which is with Source, which is one, right? So you're either one with yourself, which is separate, not separate in who you are, but your identity, your form, your ego. You think you are separate, but you're not. And so, and when we're in that space, we don't see source. We're not aware of source. We don't hear source. We don't experience source. When we're one with source, then we do, right? So we could be living in him with one with source, or in him with heaven. Um, yeah, in him with heaven, which is source, in alignment with love, abundance, happiness, joy, health, wealth, all the good stuff. Or we can be living in him to our own self, which is our suffering, blah, 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 blah. Whichever is by choice. Thereby you are it of the choosing, not only the life that you take up, but the way you are being, which is to be of itself true or false, which is illusion and a delusion. Right? So we can be other of either. And I think I'm going to end it there because it's getting a little bit too long. It's about an hour. But yeah, if you have any questions on that, definitely drop them below, and um, I can, make comments on that, because I do read comments if anybody's making comments, but just keep them, appropriate. That's all I ask. Um, and I understand that everybody's going to have these belief systems, and that's okay for where you are. And you don't have to, because again, you have choice. You have freedom and will to be and choose and think and feel however you want. But there's nothing wrong with opening up, or experiencing or seeing what else is out there, to help transform your life so you can have a better life. This is meant to be a positive thing, right? Not a negative. And so it helps you to transform your life. And that's why I said I like this discourse, because when it comes through, it's to uplift you, it's to be powerful, it's to help you take back your life, it's help you to transform your life, empower you, and to be back into the entrusted of source, which is your true alignment, not our false alignment, right? So we can be in our human self and still have abundance, love, bliss, health, wealth. Just because we're in a human form doesn't mean we have to be separate and ill and sinners and bad and evil and all this other stuff, right? Doesn't make sense, right? Start to question yourself, and in the past, we've I know I have come from family who is like, okay, don't ask questions, just do. The problem is when you teach that, don't ask questions, you don't receive. We have to ask, and we have to be open to receive. If we don't ask and we just do, we become a follower. And that's the way it's been from the past eons. A lot of people have been deemed to be from controlling parents, or, it's been passed down through parents, just do, don't ask, don't question, just do as I tell you, right? And that's where you're limiting yourself. You're condensing yourself into a lower vibration, and you're not allowing expansion awareness to come, because it's when we ask and question and allow ourselves to see what else is there. We open our frame of reference to what's actually being in the moments, and we open ourselves to awareness, not opening ourselves to evil or bad things. It's the opening expression of awareness consciousness to raise our vibration, because the more awareness that we have by asking questions, we're able to receive from source the information that we need, right? And so when we don't question, or we don't ask, or we don't look at things, we just do, we become a follower, not a leader. So we're not a god, we're a victim. All right. So I hope that helps. But I thought that was really cool, because when I write this, I get a lot of more information and downloads through it, and I'm able to see through my own way of seeing. And so this is even opening up my own awareness a little bit even more from where I am. So it's helping me to expand my awareness. So I love this, because this is, like I said, uplifting, motivating, and it's changing perspective. So with these expansion of awareness that's coming in, not only through writing this, but when those little openings, when I'm writing, because I'm not actually thinking, I'm just letting it flow through, there's other things that come in that help me to transform my awareness, to connect the dots. So then I am now have planting seeds for new awareness for the future. So where I'm going to be, and I'm constantly evolving, right? And ever since my awakening, I've just been evolving. So I love writing this book, channeling it. because where I'm going to be like 10 years from now, I know I'm going to have more of a higher consciousness than I have now. So that is pretty awesome, and I like that. So, but we all have choice, and it's really up to you. If it doesn't resonate with you, it's good, and maybe you're just not at that place yet. But I don't know. All right, but we all do have choice, and whether you, accept it or don't accept it, approve it or don't, it's really up to you. You know, so there's no judgment. But thanks for listening, and I hope you have a great rest of your day and happy journeys.